Welcome to Shared Insights, the podcast from BA Insight. My name is Pete Wright, and I am joined today by BA Insight Technical Account Representative Jason McCullagh. Jason, hello. Welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to meet you, and thank you for letting me join the show.
You are based in the UK. I hope our time zone shenanigans have not caused you any trouble. I appreciate you coming to us this evening, your time.
No problem at all. I mean, we are BA Insight. We've got a global presence. We have customers all over the world. So, time zones, I suppose, go out the window in the 21st century when you're working for an IT company.
We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence versus human intelligence. And I know that with your insight, we are going to come to terms with the fact that one is truly better than the other. One will rise up and shine a light on the benefits that it brings to us. Why did this topic come up for you? When you're approached and say, hey, do you want to join us on the podcast? And you say, oh, I got an idea. This is the one I want to talk about. Where did this come from?
I'm quite a creative individual, or like to think I'm a creative individual. And, AI seems to be always in the news. And, I hear a lot of customers say it, a lot of prospects. You go to conferences and people are always talking about it. But I think in truth, that's only one side of the argument. And so I've coined this phrase, human intelligence. Because no matter who I talk to, people are always saying, oh, yeah, we want AI, we want artificial intelligence. But when I look at it and think, do you actually want artificial intelligence? Do you want to remove that human intelligence element from what you're doing at work? And in truth, the answer is probably not. And that's the reason I wanted to get my views on this subject across and talk about it a little more.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the basis for what you're hearing, right? What is it that clients are looking for when they say, oh, we want AI? What is behind the assumption that AI is going to cure all of their ills?
Well, I think a lot of it is driven by the media and our personal experiences daily, in truth. And if you look at it from our personal experiences, we're all used to using technologies such as Google and Bing search. We're familiar with technologies that Amazon have brought out around things like Alexa and Cortana. And in truth, they are a good form of AI, and we're used to using them. And now organizations are thinking, how can we integrate these technologies into our working world? Probably more importantly, how can we integrate them into the working world, but produce and be productive as a result of those integrations? And that's really where I think it's being driven from, the commercialization of bringing them into the working world, if that makes sense.
Well, it does make sense, and it's a subject that we take on often on this show. It's the Google problem, right? That people bring the Google problem to work, and it is their assumption that everything should work like Google. This really comes down to a question of metadata, right? I mean, how are we going to assign the right metadata to the documents that are in our collections so that they are easily findable? And can't AI just take care of that for us?
Well, if we just go back a step, and you mentioned the Google problem, if we turn that into a positive and say Google, whilst it could be seen as a problem, and I have heard so many times in the search world, especially when I speak to prospects, that they say they want their search engine to work like Google. That's not a bad thing. It may not be attainable, but it's also not a bad thing, because if you think about it, Google is a powerful, and Bing as well, they are powerful search engines. They offer a lot of positives when it comes to search. So I like to look at the Google problem as a Google positive. Now, going back to your original question around, the metadata and how's that working in the working world, is, we all do keyword searches, even though we don't always know it. We do a search and we get information back. A keyword search is where you're actually searching for matches from your search query into the actual search, into the actual content within the document itself. But if we take that a little step further and we look at metadata, which is data about data, when we assign additional metadata on top of the document or content itself, it gives us more options and better search experiences. What do I mean by that? So, take a typical search engine. You do a search, you get a set of information back, and that you get a lot of information back. With the use of metadata, what we can actually do is we can actually create things like refiners, because ultimately refiners are based on metadata. We can also change the relevancy of our search results. Again, another positive that we get from assigning metadata, I beg your pardon, to content. And then one that we're all used to and familiar with seeing from websites and from the commercial world, this idea of personalization. And that's also being brought into the working world now in terms of search experiences. We do a search at work. We want to see documents that relate to things that we're doing. We want to see documents that relate to things in people within our team, within our office, even within our country. So that's where I see metadata as important. But the role that AI is taking in terms of metadata in particular is probably the process of speeding up the ability to assign metadata to content. A couple of examples. Through our product called Smart Hub, what we can do is we can actually summarize a document through the use of AI and Smart Hub. And when a user looks for information, they will see a quick summary of that document. Now, if you take the role of a human in this element of actually looking at that document, typing out a summary about what that document is, and then timesing that by 10,000, 100,000, or 1 million documents, that's not really achievable. Perhaps on a small scale, yes, but the time taken to summarize that document from a manual process is quite a lot. That's why AI is positive. Or if you wanted to extract what language a document is written in, unless you are a multilingual, unless you can speak multiple languages, then how do you know, or if you know a lot of languages, how do you know the language that the document is written in? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And everything you've listed here so far seems to me to be something that a computer is adept at determining, right? Mm-hmm. And so the role of human intelligence, right? This phrase that you're bringing to us here, and how human intelligence plays into artificial intelligence and what the computer can determine to us, I think is something I want to have you dive a little bit deeper on. What should our objectives be in figuring out the role of humans in assigning metadata and typing up summaries and doing the kinds of things that computers can't do? What should our objectives be there?
Take, for example, synonyms or colloquial language, or as I like to call it, shop floor speak. Mm-hmm. BA Insights, we have a lot of acronyms that we use. So we use things like AC for our auto classifier tool that enables you to automatically assign metadata to content, or CFW, which stands for our connector framework. That's a tool that allows us to index content from multiple content sources into a search index. Now, AC, if you use AI, for example, that will come back and it doesn't know BA Insight as an organization. It doesn't know that the language that we use. So it may go away and look at it and say, that could be alternating current, which relates to things like electricity. It's a false recognition of what AC it actually is, because it doesn't know our organization. The same could be said of, the connector frameworks, CFW. It could mean, coastal flood warning, for example. What it's doing there is it may be assigning additional metadata to the content, but it's actually providing false metadata, which could skew the search results. So that human element is always required, because we, at the end of the day, know our organization better than any computer will.
In your experience working with clients, can you set out for us an example or two of best-in-class shops that have found the right balance between human intelligence and AI? What do they do, and how do they approach their data set in a way that makes them a best-in-class in this sort of operation?
So yeah, I have one specific example, actually a UK organization who are using the auto classifier. What they are using it for is again a combination of AI and HI. This is an organization that actually needs to provide summaries about their documents, but on top of that, the human element is actually what makes the auto classifier more pertinent and works really well for this particular organization. They have information that they hold about all of their clients. Quite a pertinent thing that we're seeing a lot, especially across Europe, around GDPR, holding personal information and being able to return that information about individuals if an individual requests that. Now, no AI tool is going to be able to recognize all the information about a set of individuals. So what we've actually done is use the classifier from the HI perspective to build some rules about those about the ability to extract information from documents that will enable an organization to be compliant from GDPR perspective. So let's say a client rings up and they say, I'm looking for information. Give me all of the information, the personal information that you hold about me. But how does an AI tool know that a telephone number is a telephone number? Okay, yes, we can say it has 4 national code numbers, and then we also have the localized part of that telephone number. Or if we have a national insurance number, which has 2 numbers, 2 letters, and then a letter, for example. You can use AI to look at that, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's looking for a set of numbers, maybe a pattern. Using the classifier, we can create rules. We know that's a credit card number. We know that's a telephone number. We know that's a postcode or a national insurance number, for example. And that's where the human element is really looking at it. And then the human element again is checking back over those numbers and over that data to ensure that information is correct. And it's really important with GDPR, because if information is being missed when people are asking for the information, or it's not being passed in the correct format, then organizations can be severely fined.
Is there a significant human resource, sort of technical resource impact on operations for organizations that apply what you'd consider sort of an appropriate ratio of human intelligence to this? What is the general sort of obligation to get people trained up on how to input better data?
That's a really good question. And from an AI perspective, that there isn't any, because the computer does it itself. Mm-hmm. From a HI perspective, what I would say is if you force users to assign metadata to content, they tend not to want to do it. They may not understand why they're doing it. They see it as an additional task. It can be a time-consuming task, and ultimately they don't do it correctly. And what I will say is the only thing worse than no metadata is poor metadata or bad metadata. And I often see a lot of content tagged with the letter A. So location, they tag everything with Argentina or Algeria, for example, because it's the first thing that they come in the list. If you educate users about why they're doing it and really let them see the benefit, then they will dive down and actually commit to doing it. What is the level of training required, or what's the amount of effort required? I don't think it's a lot. It's about education and actually letting them know why they're doing it, rather than having to train them to do it. If you have a document that has 20 pieces of metadata that should be assigned, I think you are going to lose the user. So it's a balance between using AI to get as much information out of that document as possible and assign metadata, and then the human element is when they come in at the end and they fill in the blanks and do the things that are most pertinent to that organization, to organizational metadata.
What is next? I mean, when you think about again these best-in-class clients that you're working with, what is the next frontier for them to, and where do you expect AI to help sort of carry the water as our data needs continue to grow?
Well, I think AI, from a foolproof plan or a bulletproof piece of kit, isn't actually there yet. And a couple of examples, that I've seen working with some clients. We offer a facility or a tool where you can analyze images and that will pick out the information, the metadata from that image, and we can assign that metadata to the image. And then when you're searching for the image, rather than just searching on a title of an image, you can actually look at additional metadata. And we call this image or video analysis. Where is it going? And is where I'm going with this answer. I've seen examples and other technologies using AI where an image has been analyzed. And let's say we've got a swimming pool with a buoy in it. And when I say buoy, I don't mean a human. I mean that little plastic thing that sits in the water sometimes.
Sure,
now,
sure.
I have seen images and technologies through AI where they don't analyze the correct buoy, if you will. You might have a buoy sitting by the side of the pool, a human, and then a plastic buoy in the water. And that isn't what that image is actually about. Or another one is where you extract text from a T-shirt of a person in the water saying, the shirt may say water boy, but there's no actual water within the image itself. So I think there needs to be improvement in actual AI. And how we're going to get there is where, for example, Google do it. They take all of the images that we upload into things like Facebook or onto Google itself, or from websites and images. There needs to be more training around things like image and video analysis. So that's point one, and I think that's where it's going to get better in terms of accuracy. Mm-hmm. Where is it going in terms of actual technology? I think you will start to see things like sentiment analysis become more accurate as well. How does a human understand, how does a computer understand sentiment better than a human? I would argue at the moment it probably doesn't. You can see an image of a woman who is smiling, and we all know that is is a lady smiling. But what about a computer seeing that? They're trained to see people smiling and laughing. They're easy emotions and feelings to see. But what about when it gets a little bit more difficult to understand, things like confusion or the word puzzled? These types of things, again, I think is going to have to be an improvement in that for the technology to take off, and that's where the future, I think, is going. Around accuracy.
As I'm listening to you, and I feel like your approach to the cultural change that needs to happen around, just in these best-in-class organizations, as you teach users the importance of metadata, they adapt and they become more willing to contribute. And I guess that's my question. Are they getting better at that as they understand more? Are organizations having an easier time over time getting their teams on board with these kinds of requirements, kind of filling the hole?
Yeah, I think they're becoming more receptive to it, and as they become more educated around it as to why they're doing it. Then yes, I think employees and people within organisations are getting better at tagging content and assigning metadata. The ones that are perhaps not developing or doing it as correctly as one would like them to do are the ones perhaps where maybe they're being forced, as I said, or they don't understand why they're doing it, and that's the key. There are very few organizations that I come across who have a dedicated search team who then go out and educate people within the organization about how to tag documents, or why they're tagging documents. And I come from a consultant background, and I'm the type of individual who likes to explain a lot, as you can see from this podcast. And I'd like to educate people, but I don't think that all organizations do that. Probably because organizations think that they don't see the power in it. Because how do you quantify search? How do you quantify good metadata? How do you quantify bad metadata? Where's the balance? And that's the nub of really where they need to get to, so that you're going to get a better search experience. If you educate these people and probably train them, then the human intelligent element of training search and metadata will become a lot more positive.
That's as good an answer as any, Jason. Thank you so much for reflecting on that and all of these questions today. I sure appreciate your contributions and insights on the team. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to this show. We sure appreciate your time and attention. On behalf of Jason McCullagh and his UK counterparts over there, I'm Pete Wright, and we will catch you next time right here on Shared Insights, the podcast from BA Insight.